All right. Hello. I am the Tarot Wizard, and I have with me my good friend Scott Grossberg. And Scott is a, uh, a magician, a stage magician, a tarot reader, an author, a podcast host for what's the name of your podcast,
It's
Scott?
called, it's called Keeping Your Blank, Keeping Your Shit Together in a Stressed World. And I'm a co host with licensed marriage and family therapist Michelle Post. And we dig every week into the deepest issues that are facing everybody during all this social and physical and political distancing.
Are we living in a stressed world right now?
We are, and the stress of the world is way up here right now,
Mm.
particularly as we start to open up. And people have lived in a bubble for a year, at least here in California. And so we are actually working through with people during the show various tools and coping mechanisms and how to be more self-determined rather than be the victim of other people's stuff.
That's really fantastic that you dive into that and offer solutions for people. And one other thing I want to mention before we just totally dive in is that you are the originator of the Vitruvian Square.
I am, thank you, and celebrating the 10th anniversary of that. By the way, the new book is out, The Vitruvian Square: A Handbook of Divination and Mystical Discoveries, and it's kind of what I like to call a unified theory of divination, and based on and we may get into it a little bit today, but it's really built around my feeling that if you can read tarot cards, then you can read cloud formations. If you can read cloud formations, you can read light bulbs, because these are tools that we use. Skeleton keys, for example, one of the things we're going to talk about today.
Yes.
Something that's very near and dear to me and you.
And me. Yes.
It may seem unique to someone else, but the reality is it's a wonderful way for people like you and me to channel that intuition and connect us with a deeper meaning. It's pretty cool.
So let's begin with like the title of this, right? Or the title that you have given yourself is the Magician of Sorts, and that's
Yeah.
Sortes.
Yeah, it's built
What is
around
that?
it's built around the term sortilege, which ties very nicely into the use of skeleton keys, because in its purest form, it's the casting of lots. You might have seen people use the Chinese fortune telling sticks. I'm being very generic here. There are various versions of it.
Mhm.
Rune stones are another way to do it. The casting of bones, things like that. And so, one of the things that we can chat about today, if there's time, is because I know you and I use the skeleton keys a bit differently. I actually cast them like they were bones, so that you shake them up and throw them down. I happen to do it on my Vitruvian Square matrix, but you can do it without that. And you're looking for formations, you're looking for meaning. So yeah, the Magician of Sorts, Sortes, means the magician of fortune telling. I use the F word freely. I know a lot of people don't like to call it that.
The
And
fortune telling,
yeah,
that F word.
that F word. the, the,
Okay.
the the word that a lot of people don't like to use because it implies, I think, that you have no control over your fate, and that's not me. I don't buy into that. As a matter of fact, James Wanless, the originator of the Voyager tarot, he and I've had lots of conversations that I love his F word, which is fortune creation. And I think that, Jason, that's what you and I do, is we help people see patterns and we help them move to where they want to go and change the pattern if they want to. They have more control than they think.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Just quickly, we have Barbara Ann, we have Eunice who's watching, Bernadette. Thank you for everyone who's just tuning in
Hey,
and
guys.
talking with Scott Grossberg, who did you start off like being a magician, like a stage magician when you were
No,
like a kid, or
no, I started off being a fortune teller. Um,
how old
uh,
were you?
I was 6 years old, came home from kindergarten, I think it was.
Yeah.
I remember coming home from kindergarten. So that's 5, 6, whatever age it is. And I came home, and on my bed was a present. And I opened this present up, and I opened this deck of cards up. I remember it vividly being various shades of purple. I couldn't read any of the words on it, and some of the cards had wonderful images. The rest of them were just designs. I didn't know then that what I was looking at was a stylized version of the Tarot de Marseille,
Hmm.
but I was hooked, and I couldn't read it because some of the words were in French, or even Italian back then. I
Who
wasn't sure.
left it for you?
It turns out my mom did, and my family has a long history of being involved in divination and fortunes. My mom reads palms, and reads runes, not as much as palm reading. My grandmother had a shop, and people could come in, and she would tell them fortunes while she went through vintage clothing and furniture with them.
Yeah.
And I actually even have a crystal ball. I mean, it got so involved with my family. I even have a crystal ball that Howard Hughes's wife gave my grandmother as a thank you for some readings that she did for her. So long line of this, my mom left it on the bed. I was hooked, and wound up actually doing my senior thesis. I was a major in philosophy in college, and wound up doing my senior thesis on the symbolism of the tarot or tarot. I've been teaching classes on this and working with people on the symbolism of the major arcana, among other things, and how it ties in with Jungian psychology and major life themes and the hero's quest. Oh my goodness. I'm actually 63, so I've been doing this now for over 40 years of working with other people, having learned it when I was just a wee lad.
When you were 5.
Yeah.
Did that just fit into, do you think, like a natural interest in philosophy and psychology and all these areas of the mind, but how that opens up into potential?
Well, it does. I mean, for me, I've always said, if I had to pick a book, for lack of a better way to put this, if I had to pick a book to go to a deserted island, one of the books, I get 3, but it's my rules, I get 3. What one of the books would be a tarot deck. And, irrespective of which ones everybody uses, because there's so many out there now, you've got the traditional ones, you've got the older ones, you've got the ones that, cat lovers tarot and fairy tarot and shaman tarot, and you pick it.
The gummy bear tarot, have you seen that one?
I haven't, but it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, it's out there.
And so when you realize that the major arcana, for me, ties in directly with the philosophy that people have, the motivations, the primal energies, in other words, the hero's journey. Yeah. When you think of the major arcana as that, and the minor arcana as our behaviors or the external forces on us, you've really got in all of those cards the book of life. That's originally what this was. So I've always really looked at the tarot and its symbolism, and moving on to the keys, I've always looked at them as representations of us. Or to put it another way, think of what you and I as a glorified Rorschach ink blot test.
So like I'll explain to like students, right, that the tarot can represent the spectrum of human experience. And, on one side you have your joys, on the other that you're suffering, and then how it is that one navigates these areas of our life, and those forces that, those forces within ourselves that we can, marshal to create a path forward for ourselves, where we feel like we're, I'm not crazy about the word control, but that we do our best. We put together our forces. We get our shit together, right? And we express that in a certain specific way. And then there are forces that are, have their say as well.
You know, I've often likened what we do, at least what I do, and I think I can speak for you as well,
Mhm.
to getting in your car, right? So there's the car,
Mhm.
and then you're the driver. You can get in your car and you want to go somewhere. And in order for GPS to work, the GPS has to have some information. It has to know where you are. So, I think you and I calibrate the sitter, the querent. We calibrate them. We might get to know them through rapport, whatever it is. We figure out where they are. We might do a spread or pull some cards or do a key. But then there's where they're going. And then GPS calculates it, triangulates it, does all these things, and then ultimately says, here's the route you should take. Here's the route we suggest. But every step along the way, we've all heard it, recalculating. We've all heard at the next possible light, make a U-turn. And we've also heard keep on going straight through. And so I kind of look at it like that this is our intuitive GPS tool that you and I use to help people, because the beauty of this is with GPS in your car, you can change the destination if you want.
There are also querents that I have that don't hear when it says recalculating.
Yep.
And they'll continue on, and they'll like drive off a cliff.
And
and then blame me afterwards.
So here's the cool thing. I learned a long time ago that when you're doing a reading for someone, even when you're teaching, when we're doing this, we kind of hold sacred space for the people we're working with.
Oh, yeah.
And I've always loved the Anais Nin quote. Many people have taken it, but I think it originates with her.
Mm-hmm.
You can't save anyone. You can only love them. And I'm pretty upfront with the people that I read for by saying, I'll give you indications, I'll give you suggestions. I might even give you an ethical nudge here and there. But I also do a debrief with them, essentially, that if they look at something and they're saying, I really don't like that, that doesn't make me comfortable, I then need to figure out if it's uncomfortable and they need to move through it anyway. That's part of their journey. Or if it's because they made a bad choice and they need to work their way back out of it through ownership or authenticity or self-determination, whatever it is. And then we pick new cards. Honest to God, I will let them go through the deck. And it's kind of like a magician. You asked me about magic, and I didn't get into magic till I was 13, by the way, legerdemain magic. It's kind of like a magician saying, here, pick a card. If you don't like that one, pick another one. And I'll work with that. And so I'll do a reading, give them indications, give them energy flows, give them outside external forces, making sure that I underscore, let's not worry as much about the outside validation and worry more, if we're going to call it that, about your own self-determination. And if at some step along the way you don't like that, then we choose another card for that outcome or result or energy flow, with the understanding, be careful what you wish for, because there are consequences to every decision. And then we follow that through.
Do you find that, allowing for that extra choice, or so that it still kind of falls into a similar pattern, that that you can see that as the tarot reader, that
Yeah.
One can't really escape those things that they need to move through?
Here's what I have found. It's my personal experience. I'm sure maybe you've noticed the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
How you do anything is how you do everything.
Yeah.
And so we are creatures of habit. I actually read the way people select their cards. They just don't know I'm doing that. And if you want to have fun, because I know you put your keys in a group and let people, or you choose from those, that selection alone, I'm actually reading. I'm watching them. And I will go back and tell you, Jason, the way they choose the card is very telling of what the reading will be.
Interesting. I developed a reading style where it's almost like a 9-card trunk of a tree, where without like a lot of information from someone. I'll just look to see their energy.
Yep.
And again, it's like, knowing the person's potential, if they're open to their path, if they're closed off, is it them? Is it outside,
Mhm.
forces that are, uh, have their say? And then, all the other questions that follow are the branches from that trunk of the tree. And exactly what you're saying as
Well,
far as,
so you're going to like this. Remind me when we're off air, but remind me at some point to let you know uh, when some people have asked me. It's very synchronistic, we'll call it that.
yeah,
But I do call it the unified theory. The Vitruvian square has 9 squares to it. And I've been talking to some people because they've asked me how I apply the Viking, Norse, and Kabbalistic trees of life to the Vitruvian square. I hint at some of it in
yeah,
the book,
yeah.
but there are 9 segments uh, to the Vitruvian square. And I'm willing to bet, without you and I having ever discussed this before, that they're probably very similar in the things that you look at
Mm,
beforehand. And one of the techniques that I used a long time ago with my Vitruvian palace, that I call it, is to take somebody, imagine this 9 square matrix as a house, and I'm looking for where the lights are off in the house or where they burn brighter, which I think is very similar to what you're telling me you're doing with the roots emanating down and the leaves and branches emanating up.
yeah, yeah. Let's can we dive into the Vitruvian Square just
Oh,
a little
sure,
bit? I
sure.
want to say hi to Aniki. Aniki's from Holland, and she's like tuning in.
Welcome. Thanks for joining in, everybody.
Yeah, thank you everyone for watching. And I'm sitting here with Scott Grossberg, and it's fascinating, fascinating. So the Vitruvian Square. This is
Yeah.
this is started off as a book
Yeah, let's see if I can
that you wrote 10
put it down.
years ago.
So I wrote this book 10 years ago. The one I wrote 10 years ago didn't look like this. It was smaller, and the publisher, we did some different typesetting. So I rewrote this. It's now much thicker. If people want to look at it, they can see stuff on Amazon. But it it's got all kinds of charts and correspondences in it. And so again, the reason I've called it the unified theory of divination, Jason, is it's got everything in there from the tarot to colors to the Platonic solids to palmistry, phrenology, and it basically serves as an overlay. And do you mind if I share my screen real quick? I've got it set up for the keys, but if you took the keys off, I'll just move them aside. That's the Vitruvian Square.
I just love how it's so professional, your setup.
Oh, thank you.
Many cameras. Awesome.
Oh, thank you. So this is the Vitruvian Square, which you can't see at the top, is the 0 point, 0 meaning for me, the place, again, in the Kabbalistic tree of life, the emanation from up above down below, and then this is life that you get lost in. And it's literally got squares from 1 through 9 and all the correspondences. This image is what I use for casting on. The images are in the book, and it's got everything from numerology, again, alchemical symbols. It's got positives and negatives. You can do all kinds of stuff with it. So this is the way it looks, and it is built around the Lo Shu square. For those of you that may be into Chinese numerology or Chinese magic, which the Lo Shu square, if you don't know, was originally the story of a turtle thousands of years ago that as myth has it, came out of flood waters, and on the back of the turtle, on the back of the shell, was a 9 square matrix with magic square numbers, and all of the numbers, when you added them up, I believe, if I remember right, equaled 15. So 15 in this direction, 15 in this direction, 15 in that direction. And as I studied the Lo Shu square, and I'm always attempting to expand my own divination knowledge, as I expanded that, I was literally on a walking meditation. And I remember when all of a sudden I had this aha moment, and I said, wait a minute, is freaking hard to let's get real. It's too freaking hard to remember where the 15 numbers go to add up to themselves. How about we just make it easy and I start with 1? And we know that 0 equals oneness, and it's outside the story, right? At 0, there is no story.
Right.
You start with 1. What if I just put them in a line like you read? And then all of a sudden, one thing literally after another fell into place, because at 1, I knew it was the magician. 1 means beginnings. 2 was the high priestess. 2 means connections. 3 was creating. 3 is the empress, right? The mom. She creates. 4, which is, think about it, every structure, the foundation of a home is built around 4 walls. We hear about that. That's the emperor. You've got things that are constantly changing. Number 5, and through that, and that's why suddenly it became this real aha moment for me, where I said, oh my goodness. And one correspondence after another fell into that.
Wow. So with the keys
Yeah.
that you are, using to and you throw the keys onto that square,
Yeah.
and are you looking at the patterns, like the spaces that they fall in? Do those
Yes.
keys have a specific meaning to them?
They do. So you're going to love this. May I let you in on a little secret?
Absolutely.
When I originally, I'll put this out, and again, 10 years ago, I created this booklet called The 7 Keys, Unlocking the Past, Present, and Future. It is not available anymore. I don't know if I'll re-release it. No, it's
Come
not.
on.
I might re-release it. But here's the cool thing. It was also built around something you can get at your hobby store. And it's by a guy by the name of Tim Holtz, Holtz. And they're called word keys. I kid you not. These are word keys. You can get them at Michael's, Hobby Lobby. You can order them online. And I'm going to hold these up to the camera. They all have words etched on them.
Oh, yeah. I see secret.
Secret.
Heart.
Oops. Heart. Here's a tiny little lock one. This is life.
Okay.
Here's one called dreams. Here's a skeleton key you'll like. Memory.
So how many keys do
the original one came with 7. That's the original packet, and that's what I wrote the book around originally.
Yeah.
And when you think about it, all of your life aspirations, all of your things that you might be interested in are here, including, I read the colors of the keys. So the original packet of 5 had brass, copper, and nickel in them. And so I equate heart, by the way, with health, memory with education, secrets with your ambition, love with romance, sex, intimacy, right? The journey one is travel. Dreams equals money. Most people, if you ask them what do they want, they tell you they want more money. That's their initial dream. And then life equates to career. So I've actually got all the divination categories in these 7. And then I've got brass, copper, and nickel also emphasizing those. And what I didn't realize is that over the years, what Tim Holtz was going to do was release more key sets.
Did that just like open up like even more areas of
it did,
or did it complicate things?
It complicated them to the extent that there was some redundancy built into them.
Yeah.
But he released them around Halloween and Christmas. So you have some very interesting keys like Mary, Merry. You've got some like poison, wicked, haunted. It came out during Halloween, right? Tim Holtz did not release these intending them to be fortune-telling devices. But what I've been able to do is take these as additional supplements to this. Depending again on how much time I have, I'll just use the original 7 because they're near and dear to my heart. So to go to your question, yeah, one of the things that you do is you throw these down. I'll just take the original 7 here.
Yeah.
And I'm casting them. And one of the first things I'm looking for is how far away are they from my sitter, or if you're on Zoom, the person for whom you're reading,
Mm-hmm.
and how close are they to me. So the closer they are to them, the more important. The further away, the least important. I've got face up, face down. Unlike tarot cards where I don't read reversals, I do read reversals when it comes to keys. And then I'm looking for simple patterns. I'm looking for triangles and squares and circles and crosses. Do they fall to the left or the right? And then where are they within the square? Things that are blocking other things. Sometimes you'll take a key and throw it, and it just falls outside the entire matrix to begin with.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
so
yeah.
that's important. And, I even have a personality test I do with it, but I want to share one thing with you, if you don't mind, because I think you might find it fascinating. At the bare minimum, this is my go-to divination tool. And I find it fast. It's a regular skeleton key, much like what you would use. It's on a chain, and it's got a circle on it, which again, for me, a circle has a lot of meanings, and one of them being oneness with the universe. And this all by itself is a divination tool for me. And I can take the key off and just throw that single key, the key meaning knowledge, and I can look at which way the nib is. More importantly, that in this configuration, I also have a pendulum.
Yes.
That's built into it. And I've just always loved skeleton keys. And we've been very blessed to be able to make a number of trips to the UK. And I love going into these old shops and finding these skeleton keys. And then I'll walk into a shop, and I'll just hold the key in my hand and wait for it to speak to me. And these shop owners are all like, "You're going to buy that, or what are you doing?" And it's, I don't know about you, Jason, but skeleton keys just feel right for what we do, because it's always been the thing that unlocks that door to knowledge, right?
Yeah. I see it as it is an implement to, or a tool to unlock something, right? And it's I see it as unlocking potential, unlocking someone's way of how it is that they may view their future, their relationship with themselves, and if they feel hopeful towards it, or if they feel that it's daunting, the task ahead of them is daunting. And it's like when we have a key that helps to open doors, to remove
Yeah.
obstacles. And
Or lock them. Yeah.
I feel that we are the key and the lock, that our being is the key and the lock. But I'm not interested in locks. It's like I could care less about locks, collecting like locks. I know some
Yeah.
will and go, oh yeah, that's cool. But it's the key that and the skeleton keys, they have an artistry to them too.
They do.
They have
Absolutely.
like an absolute, like, kind of, you can have one like this. Oops. Like this, that has like a
Wonderful.
really beautiful, just just a whole array of artistry in it.
And they've got a weight to them, and they've got a texture to them. And I can tell you, I don't know about you, but my love of keys goes way back, and I can't tell you where I first learned this. But did you ever do the personality test, the walk through the forest? I won't go through the whole thing, but you imagine you have someone close their eyes, and then you imagine walking down a road, and then you have someone describe the road to you, and they start to walk into a forest, and you have them describe the forest or the woods. Can they see the sky? Just tell me your environment. What does it smell like? What does it feel like? And as they progress down the road, they come upon a cup. Now describe the cup for me and tell me what you do with the cup. And then you come to a key. And that's always struck with me. Chalices are one thing, but that key, and it's always amazed me how many people take the key, they put it in their back pocket. They take the key, they look for a house that they can open the door. They take the key and it's dirty and they brush it off. They take the key and it's this aluminum, you know, modern key that's been broken. Just listening to them describe this key, I found so fascinating. And then to move into a key reading is actually, it just resonated with me. How did you get into your use of keys?
Well, it started off as a collection of keys, and some keys I will find, and I'll purchase them for myself. Some are gifts. Some like my wife was in Salem and in Massachusetts, and she was in a store, and she like got me a key that it's an older key. It's not from the 1600s or anything that was like uh, associated with Salem and the witch trials or anything like that. But um, I'll feel the energy of it. If the energy
Yeah.
doesn't agree with me, then it doesn't. I don't like it around me. And those there can be ways to just kind of lose things that don't agree with you energetically. I live by
Let
the
it
ocean.
bless.
Maybe I
I
gotta
call it let it bless somebody else.
right, right. Um, I, and there have been some skeleton keys that I haven't liked, uh, but not all skeleton keys are ones that are just so fancy and so but ones that have like really deep meaning, like this one here. It was a gift from my sister, not Tara, but my sister Amy, who went through cancer like a couple of times and
Right.
really went through it. It's like it's very serious. And this she was a bartender, and
I was just going to ask at the bottom, is that a bottle opener?
this is like a bottle opener. It's metal and all, it's strong, but it's also fancy. I use my beard as a background, by the way, for the keys. It works to have
That's
this
very
like
cool.
canvas behind. Um, and what it represents is because of her uh, this challenge that she went through. It represents renewal.
That's wonderful.
Renewal. And with renewal is health. It's reinvention. If someone wants to change it up for themselves, and she's no longer a bartender. She is has moved on to uh, jobs that are more to her liking, and they use a different skill set, and they're not so
Yeah.
so taxing. It's like working in a bar area. It's like you are a counselor also, for people,
Yeah.
but there's only one solution, right? It's like, oh, here, alcohol, here, alcohol, and that's not a sustainable, way of, do, just benefiting your life. It's okay for just the momentary, but it's not the long-term solution. And so um it's like this key has a deep personal meaning, why it's that this key.
And by the way, for people who are tuning in and watching this, I, that story that Jason passed on, I recommend to you, is so important for you if you want to get into reading whatever it is that you want to read, to know your to know your own self and be able to resonate with whatever oracle tool you're using, because that's what makes it work. At the end of the day, we're reading ourselves.
Yeah, yeah. This key is one of balance. And in this one, you can see where it has the double feet to it. It
Yeah.
has the and so balance is like it's a huge part of life. I mean, as far as just taking the dichotomy of anything and finding that middle part of our own self, so that we can not like fall too heavily either way, as we navigate.
I'm curious when you do your keys, because we're, again, for the listeners, we're having a conversation here. Jason and I didn't script any of this. And it's fascinating to me how, serendipitous this all is, because I love the concept of serendipity.
Yeah.
I know you don't like locks. However, when I use keys to do a reading or to get a glimmer of somebody or something or some event, I always like to create the image that I'm unlocking them. And I wonder, you may not use those same terms, but do
Right.
you feel that same thing, that you can almost feel like the locks and the chains falling away as you do your reading?
That's funny. I don't know that I see that particular visual of it, but it is instead of like the word locks, I like to think in terms of blocks. Adding that B in front, where it's a way to just move through uh, whatever is keeping someone from just getting to the other side of,
Yeah.
if it's a fear, if it's something internal where they're wrestling themselves in it, then um it's funny because I haven't seen that particular image with it. It's maybe uh now you've brought it up, and it's like, what do I like? How do I associate that? Is it like energetic? It might be more of an energetic, because I'm more of a kinesthetic type of person
Got it.
rather
Okay.
than a visual where I'm
And
just
I'm very visual.
seeing
So,
things. Yeah, so I think it's more of an energetic, just kind of moving through something, and the resistance that one has, that's always up to the individual. The resistance that, if it's an idea, it's like, oh my God, I have to like have a talk with someone, and it's got
yeah.
to be on this subject, and it's a heavy subject, and it's like you start to build up, all these what ifs and all this. You start creating the tension there that yeah, it's like, it's like uh someone can uh you know just keep themselves from
Oh,
going forward, because they've just created it all in their head.
I call it my four S's, right? Stuck, stalled, stagnant, and stopped. And it can be any one of those four. And sometimes people that come to folks like you and me don't even know what it is. They just feel stuck, or they feel stagnant, or they feel stalled. And they can describe it, as you say, kinesthetically, where they feel it in their body and they just can't, there's lethargy. They can't put one foot in front of the other at times. Uh, and at least the folks that I tend to work with tend to be very non-confrontational. They're very empathic. They're very intuitive, very shy, right? And so to maneuver out in the world, they're looking for something out there. I've joked about it with others, but it's like, I just want to come to you and take two Jasons tonight and call you in the morning. And it's not, I don't look at the work that you and I do like that, where it's not come to me. And by the way, one of the things I will not do is I won't read for someone about someone else. I will only read for someone about them. Now that might have other people implications or other event implications, but it's like, tell me what so-and-so is doing. I'm not a gossip tree. And so I do draw that one line. But I tend to notice that people become more emboldened when they get really solid game plans that they can see, feel, hear. I tend to hit all of the different, kinesthetic. I don't do gustatory, but it's, you hit all of those. However, I can tell you, when I was doing live readings, I don't know about you, I actually would hit the olfactory I actually found a place that does different essential oils. And when I open my box that has all of this stuff in it
Yeah.
that I use, I have old dirt in it. That smell of old, wet dirt, which I just absolutely love, combined with like a wet moss tree smell. So I'm even hitting that sense with them during a reading, together with lighting a candle or even doing some of those really, and there's some amazing fake candles out there so you don't start a fire, depending on the venue that you're in.
Yeah.
It looks like a real candle, all of that. So there's there's even some staging involved in, I think, what
Do you
we
find
do.
that that's a grounding thing? The smell of the
Yeah.
wet earth, and I mean, sounds literal, but I mean, really, where someone can just get to a base part of themselves.
Yeah. I mean, and again, I'm big on the forest, and I'm big on, I'm very, one of my favorite places in Britain is Cornwall, and it's a very earthy. It's just a very earthy place. Means a lot to me, and so it's as much for me to stimulate a reading as anything else. I actually, even when I'm doing a Zoom reading, I'll have the the stuff going here. You may not smell it, but I do. I won't even tell you about it. It's just I know it's there, and so it becomes a very grounding thing for me. And I don't make a deal about it. I don't tell anybody. It's just there's just something. And if I don't do that, then I'll use sage. And there are some really cool sage sprays that you can even use beforehand so that you're not smudging the room and they walk in with smoke. You can actually just have that. There's something different. And so what I'm looking for is creating a safe and sacred place that even before we start, people just notice there's a little subtle shift. It's just a shift. I'm not asking you to change. I'm not asking you to transform, because people don't like change. They hate it, right? All the reptilian bells and whistles go off. What they're looking for is help and hope. And I think that's what you and I bring.
So setting the stage there, like creating this sacred
Yeah.
space, and then it's what you bring to it too, as far as being in a calm, like I find that, readers that like new readers, they can get into a space of like a nervousness, like I have to tap into this person, I
Yeah.
have to know what all is going on with them, and I find that if you do the opposite, rather than trying to figure it out beforehand, it's like what the reading's going to be. It's like you let go of it, and you create a blank canvas,
I've
and then just allow for it to unfold.
it's been
Trust the Tarot.
it's been very or trust the process. It's been very interesting during these crazy times, as I call it, which is actually for me a cycle, I think, for the world of rebirth and regeneration and clarification. If people want to look at it that way,
Are you talking about this last year?
yeah, this last year. During this last year, I've had more people, readers, contact me who suddenly have stepped into that role, and then all of a sudden they let their head get to them and they go, "Oh, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can blah blah blah," right? What if what I tell somebody isn't accurate? What if it's not detailed enough? And I tell folks something I learned when I was in Greece, and it's fascinating. Everybody's heard of the Oracle at Delphi. Most people don't realize that there were sibyls in various locations, and the sibyls lived at somewhat or operated in caves, and underneath the Acropolis, uh, when we were there visiting, we were very fortunate that somebody said, "Have we know what you do and the like. Have you seen all of the caves underneath the Acropolis?" And I said, "What are you talking about? I mean, you don't go onto a tour guide book and it tells you, hey, there's all these caves and things underneath the Acropolis." And
Mhm.
we actually hiked down there, having been told where to go. And there's a ring of these caves to various deities and or personages underneath the Acropolis. And doing more studying, I found out that the Sibyls, among other things that they would do, would write the fortunes on oak leaves or other leaves, but primarily oak leaves, and leave them at the mouth of the caves, waiting for someone to come and find the message or to be blown away. And if it was blown away, it wasn't meant to be. And I remind the people who want to get into what we're doing that here you've got some of the most famous oracles ever that lived, who got a message and relayed a message before anyone ever sat in front of them. And they trusted that the message was correct, and it was what it was. And what a wonderful way. I remind myself of that as well. It's like, I've got a message, you need a message, let me relay it to you. And what you do with it is really in your control. The best I can do is pass on what the keys tell me, or what the tarot tells me, or what the light bulbs tell me. Depending on what I'm doing, even if I'm just doing pendulum work. So it's been really gratifying working with other readers during this last year and helping them step into their own power with the understanding that it's not ego driven. If I can get them out of their head and have them start thinking through their heart, we all tend to be up here too much.
Well, certainly in times that are uncertain too.
Yeah.
It's like wanting to figure it out and to say what's going to happen. And there's still a lot of uncertainty, as far as how things unfold. And yet, it has been an incredible time for community.
Yep.
And I was you were asking me about that photo from Sedona that my sister Tara, who was like, had set up this amazing shaman apex there in Sedona, and I was one of the presenters, and just had an incredible time, and it was like a new layer of the healer emerged, within myself. And then it's like, we find ourselves in a world that's closing down, and it's like, all of my live events and all the stores that I work at in LA, it's like done,
Yeah.
So having to invest in a digital self, putting a digital self out there into the world, and again opening up, like just an amazing community,
Yeah.
where it's worldwide. And I feel that there's opportunity to expand, and to know who it is that you are at your core as a reader. And I'm very big on it's like it's about less control of the spiritual realm. I think that's why spirit is represented by water, because it's like you can cup your hands and you can hold that water in your hands, but it's open, it's freeing. And if you try to close your hands and grip it tightly, you'll lose it all. And so it's a it's a journey for
Well,
sure.
it's fascinating that you talk about water, because I don't often share this, but I have a dear shaman, mentor, guide, friend. They all become that, right?
Yeah.
And she and I were having a counseling session yesterday. I was going through where I am and things like that. And we got into a whole discussion about transgenerational and epigenerational healing and DNA and all this stuff. And I could tell that I was starting to feel something energetically, because I got really hot. And she so beautifully said to me, without me ever saying that to her, she beautifully said to me, Scott, I want you to imagine that you're in the ocean, in a boat, and I want you to put the sail up and just see where it goes. Remember to put your sail up and see where it takes you. And it was like instantly down, because water is something I love, water and earth, right? And yeah, not to discount any of the other cardinal points and any of the other energy spirits, but those to me are instantly calming. So when you talk about water, and it just instantly flashed in my head that what a great, again, visual for me. It's just maybe we could all just put our sails up and trust that we'll be taken where we need to go.
Beautiful, beautiful. We've been talking for almost an hour here.
We have.
And we've got Tracy saying a great conversation. Thank you. And again, everyone who's listening and who's making a comment, thank you for taking time out of your day. And I'm fascinated. I mean, you're so well spoken, Scott. And
Oh, well,
and it's
so are you.
I don't have place.
I don't have the Dumbledore beard though. I'm really jealous of you.
Don't be jealous. It's the beard. It's a way of life, right? I mean, it's like, you don't have to like spend those extra, 5 minutes or whatever, just combing out your beard every day, and all the shampoo and
I actually thought of you because I thought of you though. I shaved and was getting dressed for our show today, and I said, Jason doesn't have to do this.
But there's other regimens that I have to do. One thing that I don't care for is like, and it's been like gifts and stuff like that. People will, they make these beard soaps and beard perfumes and all that. It's just like, no. It's way too much, and it's.
But you don't do the beard oil so that you sparkle in the sunlight?
No, because I don't want people to think I'm a vampire or something.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
The Twilight vampires just sparkling.
Yeah. And going back to what you said here just a minute ago, I want to pass on. I'll go back and take a look at your Facebook feed. I obviously don't see that as we're doing this, but I really want to express my thanks for the people who are listening in and who will listen in, because this is fun. I mean, Jason and I have had fun before, although it's never been video before. This is the first time we've done the Zoom format.
Right.
But he's co-hosted Tara's show, and we've been able to connect that way. So this is a great pleasure for me, and maybe we'll do this again. That would be fun.
How can people find you,
Scott? Thanks for asking. The easiest way is to go to thinkingmagically.com. That's thinking like in your head, THINKING, magically, MAGICALLY.com. And once there, if you're interested in seeing anything about the Vitruvian Square and similar things that I happen to have been very fortunate to be involved in, at the top of that page, you'll see books and products. You can click on that, or you can write me. I'm on all the social media sites. Unfortunately, I've maxed out on Facebook. So the one thing, and I do, if you don't mind, Jason, want to put an invitation out. If you're on Facebook and you happen to be a fan of or an actual reader of any divination tool, I just started and Jason's part of this, I just started the Proper Tarot School of Divination. It's an open.
The Proper Tarot.
The Proper, and I could tell you where that came from, but it's not as fascinating. Proper does not mean correct. I actually got that from a British friend of mine. We were having dinner, and we were talking about different things, and he used the term, Scott, what you're doing is just proper witchcraft, was his first words. And then we moved to Proper Tarot, and I kept thinking the American version of proper meaning right and wrong. That's not what it means. Proper is, that's true, whatever. That's the accurate form. That's absolute. That's just the essence of what you're doing. So Proper Tarot doesn't mean the correct tarot. Proper Tarot means all things tarot. So I've got a group that I invite any of you to just send me a join on it. It's the Proper Tarot School of Divination. And periodically I'm posting layouts and inviting guest speakers, much like what Jason's doing here on. And it's think of it as a support group for all things divination. And there are people from all over the world. It's very fun to meet new friends.
And it's like strangers are just friends that you haven't met
Yeah.
yet.
Yeah.
That's my take on it, and that's why it's always a joy to meet someone new. And do you ever on that, have you done like demonstrations of
I
reading
have.
the keys and all?
I haven't done the keys yet. That's actually a little bit down the list. We've done we've
What's
done
high on your list?
well. We just got done with a 4-day adventure for the Vitruvian Square. This weekend, I actually have I created an oracle deck called the Deck of Shadows, and so this weekend, starting Friday through Monday, I'm doing that adventure with folks. We just got done with a guest professor, for lack of a better way to. You'll have to come on because you look like a professor, Jason. You will have to come on. I invite you, and you can talk about the keys and what you're doing with that if you'd ever like to do that.
Sure.
And anyway, I had a guest professor just on who did tasseography. You might know it better as tea leaf reading. She's also a palm reader out of the Somerset area, but primarily tea leaf reading. And she did, I think, 45 minutes to an hour of explaining things I'd never even knew about tea leaf reading. I thought you just took tea leaves and read them.
Right.
But there's
Maybe
a way
just
to
dumped
there's
it
a way.
in upside down or
No, there's a way to.
swirled it around.
There's a whole protocol beforehand, including drinking it and what you're looking for, and whether you read them in the cup or read them in the saucer. So we did that, and we've got a number of other surprises that are coming up, and it's fun for me. I love this stuff. I've been living it since I was 5-6 years old.
So again, the name of the Facebook group is the Proper
Tarot School of Divination.
Okay. I'll add
all you,
that too.
All you have to do is go on Facebook, and you can either find me. And the reason I'm saying that is, unfortunately, I've maxed out. I can't. If someone tries to add me as a friend, I can't add you for whatever reason because of Facebook's limitations. You can either like my page, and I'm on there as S like Scott S Grossberg, or there's this group, and then you've got access to me all the time. So Proper, P-R-O-P-E-R, Tarot, T-A-R-O-T. If you just type in Proper Tarot, you'll find it. But if you want to be really fancy, it's the Proper Tarot School of Divination. And it's a place where everybody can come if they're interested at all in what Jason and I do, and we share stuff. It's just, again, it's a support group.
Fantastic. Thank you so much,
Scott.
I learned so much from you, and
it's reciprocal. I love those keys you showed me, by the way. So,
well, we have to do like some kind of just upcoming. We'll talk about them further. Share them, because it is a time of sharing, and again, it's like maybe keys for us, right? It might be something else for someone else who just has a connection to their own intuition and something that they love, and how it is that they are able to share their own wisdom. So thank you, Scott.
Oh, my pleasure. I love being with you, and I love your energy and everything that you do. You're very grounding for me, so thank you.
Absolutely. And again, thank you everyone for hanging with us in this hour. And it's like Eunice says, thank you for sharing and your knowledge, and thank you. See, it's like moving now. It's like, thank you so much. Great.
Well, thank you all again for being part of Jason's and my journey through life. It means a lot to me.
All right, Scott Grossberg, thinkingmagically.com, thinkingmagically.com. And you do readings, right? Private readings.
Uh,
You're
I do.
yes.
I do, but I don't advertise them. It's
All right.
not the primary thing. I primarily do life coaching, and it might include readings as part of that. However, I don't put myself out there and say I'm going to be like you do, doing readings. It's an adjunct to what I do. But thank you for
But your
asking.
services are available and your
Yeah,
products
yeah,
are available on your site.
yeah. Just that people can take a look. The door is open. Go take a look around, see if there's anything in there. You can always ask me a question, and you'll see how to send me an email. It's very easy to do.
Wonderful. All right. Thank you, Scott.
Thanks, Jason.
All right.
Peace.